Welcome to the Explainer. You know, if you're an English language teaching researcher, you already know the harsh truth. Collecting your data and writing up those findings, honestly, that's only half the battle. The other half is that often mystifying, kind of frustrating, but completely rewarding journey of actually getting published. So today, we are going to completely demystify this process. We're taking a structured, behind-the-scenes look at the editorial journey for researchers, specifically focusing on the World Journal of English Language, published by Sci-Do Press. Because once you understand exactly what editors and reviewers are hunting for, you can navigate the whole shebang with total confidence.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We've got 4 main stops. 1, the blueprint, 2, the construction, 3, the gauntlet, and finally, 4, the finish line.
Kicking things off with Part 1, the blueprint, preparing for success. So think of me as your mentor for a minute here. A successful editorial journey kicks off way before you type that very first word of your abstract. You've got to realize that the ELT research landscape is shifting, and it's shifting fast. If you submit a super traditional study, something focusing purely on basic grammar or vocabulary teaching, you are looking at an incredibly steep uphill climb. Why? Well, frankly, editors are drowning in those submissions. They just lack that spark of novelty. Instead, to really grab an editor's attention, you've got to look at the concepts that are dominating 2026 and beyond. We're talking generative AI for writing, digital literacy, mobile-assisted language learning, and corpus linguistics. These are the cutting-edge ideas that literally make an editor sit up and take notice, because they're pushing the absolute frontier of modern language education.
But hey, a quick warning. Just slapping a hot buzzword like ChatGPT onto a flimsy study, that's not going to save you. It's exactly like building a house. Before you can put up the walls, you need a rock-solid foundation. You have to ask yourself some pretty tough questions. Have you actually identified a genuine research gap in the international literature, or you're just echoing what's already out there? Is your theoretical framework actually driving the study forward? Do you have a rigorous methodology with a truly valid statistical plan? Oh, and of course, did you secure all those necessary ethical approvals? It's these foundational elements that magically transform a trendy topic into a scientifically sound, genuinely publishable ELT study.
All right, moving on to number 2, the construction, crafting the manuscript. Now that our foundation is poured, it's time to actually build the paper. And it turns out every successful ELT paper shares a very specific, almost predictable anatomy. Notice how the literature review and the discussion sections are the heavy lifters here? They demand the absolute highest word counts, and that's because this is where you prove you actually understand the ongoing academic conversation, and it's where you argue your case against previous research. Sticking to these structural expectations ensures your manuscript feels perfectly balanced to the editorial team, even before they dig into your core arguments.
So, when you pull all those perfectly proportioned sections together, your full article is typically going to land right in that golden window of 7,000 to 10,000 words. And look, this isn't just some arbitrary hurdle a publisher made up. It's the exact amount of academic real estate you need to provide real, rigorous depth, all while forcing you to actively trim out the unnecessary filler that just dilutes your main scientific point.
10 to 15%. Seriously, burn this number into your memory. That is the maximum overall similarity score you can possibly get away with when your manuscript goes through plagiarism detection software prior to submission. You want absolutely 0 copied paragraphs, and proper citation of every single borrowed idea is an absolute must. Even an accidentally missed citation or a paraphrase that's just a little too close to the original can push you right over that edge. Failing this automated check is hands down the fastest way to earn a desk rejection, stopping your editorial journey before it even gets off the ground.
And since we're on the topic of automated checks and software, let's address the elephant in the room, AI. Look, as modern researchers, you can totally use AI tools ethically. But, and this is a massive but, they are tools to polish, never to produce. Think of AI as a super capable research assistant. Use it to organize a massive stack of literature, to manage your headache-inducing APA formatting, or to refine your grammar to that expected native academic standard. But the scientific soul of your paper, the originality, the critical thinking, the core arguments, those have to remain undeniably yours. And a golden rule here, if the journal policies ask, always fully disclose your use of AI.
Which brings us to Phase 3, the gauntlet, screening and review.
Okay, so you've submitted your paper, and the dreaded waiting game begins. The absolute second you hit submit, your paper faces the initial editorial screening. Picture a busy, probably exhausted editor staring down a stack of 50 brand new submissions. They are not reading deeply at this stage. They are aggressively filtering. They're asking, does this paper actually fit our specific journal scope? Is the English comprehensible? Is the formatting completely out of whack? A huge chunk of papers get eliminated right here on the spot. And it's not even necessarily because the core science is bad, but simply because they fail basic fundamental compliance.
Now, if you manage to survive that initial filter, you enter the true crucible, double-blind peer review. This is where 2 to 4 anonymous experts in your specific ELT niche start dissecting your work. They're testing the extreme rigor of your methodology, the validity of your data, and they're asking the one ultimate defining question. Does this actually matter to the field of ELT? Make no mistake, this is the ultimate stress test of your academic contribution.
Eventually, the editor comes back with one of 4 decisions. And let me just manage your expectations right now. Getting an immediate accept without any changes required? Yeah, that's basically an academic myth. It almost never happens. Actually, if you receive a minor revision or even a major revision, you should be celebrating. It means the journal actively wants your paper. You just have to earn that final spot by meticulously and respectfully addressing every single reviewer comment in your response letter. Now, to avoid the dreaded reject pile, you've got to understand exactly why papers fail in the first place. Submissions usually crumble when they rely on a weak literature review, totally outdated references, or maybe a poorly justified tiny sample size. To secure that acceptance, you have to do the exact opposite. Your submission must scream clarity. It needs to show a genuine research gap, a bulletproof methodology, and undeniable practical implications for English language teaching. Treat these success criteria as your final, absolute, non-negotiable checklist before you ever press that submit button.
Let's wrap things up with number 4, the finish line, publication and indexing.
I always say publishing is an academic marathon, definitely not a sprint. When you look at the reality of the timeline, patience is basically your best asset as a researcher. Initial screening, that takes 1 to 3 weeks. Peer review can easily trap your paper for 1 to 3 months. Then you have to factor in a few weeks for your own revisions and probably another month for a final editorial decision. Simply put, no reputable journal can fast-track this process. But, understanding this rhythm really helps remove the anxiety of the silence, and it lets you plan your career and research output way more strategically.
All right, so once you finally secure that hard-fought acceptance email, there is one last administrative hurdle. If the journal requires an article processing charge, or APC, you're going to need to handle that. And here's a quick pro tip. These fees fluctuate over time. Do not rely on a colleague's outdated advice or some old forum post. Always verify the current APC directly on the journal's official author fees page before you even submit your initial manuscript. You really don't want to be hit with a surprise bill right at the finish line.
And here is a super crucial reality check to end on. Even after your article is typeset, published online, and you are sitting there proudly holding a DOI link in your hand, you still have to wait. Scopus indexing is not immediate. Your article is only going to appear in the Scopus database after the publisher deposits the metadata and Scopus fully processes it on their end. So if you're relying on that indexing for a vital promotion, a tenure review, or to graduate, you absolutely must factor this highly variable waiting period into your academic timeline.
Well, we've built the blueprint, we've survived the gauntlet, and we've finally crossed the finish line. You now possess the exact insider roadmap to navigate the editorial journey for researchers at the World Journal of English Language. So I'm going to leave you with this final, vital question. Armed with this knowledge and a crystal clear view of the road ahead, what genuine research gap will your next study fill? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to read your future ELT research.